There, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz with the really dumb stoic look on his face. And this is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program on ISC Sports Network on this, the day that we are taping, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. So hope all of you have a moment to reflect upon the significance of that holiday and what it means for all of us as Americans, of course, with the dream of Dr. King and continuing that to today towards bettering all of us in terms of our society in general. Derek, over the course of the weekend, plenty of sports to talk about, and that, I guess, always starts with the NFL, right?
Yeah, wild card weekend.
Is that an old shirt or a new shirt made to look old?
No, it's an old shirt.
Yeah, it looks like you might have had that like as a sixth grader.
Yeah, well, it's a little tight, as you'll notice. Like, I'm already pitting it out a little bit. But yeah, it's an older shirt.
Just out of curiosity, what does the size of the shirt have to do with your perspiration
There's
issue?
nowhere to breathe. Like, I have, as you know, I have a lot of armpit hair, and there's no room in between the sleeve, and it needs oxygen. You know what I mean? It needs to breathe. And because this shirt's actually a medium, but it fits small, it kind of traps all of the body heat, and that just turns into moisture, and then that makes it moist on the armpit section of the shirt. So that's probably more in depth than you wanted with the explanation, but okay, you asked, so
that
don't get
be
mad
more
at me.
in depth. Let me just break down for you, if I may, the issues of my pituitary glands, and then afterwards I'll ask if that's TMI.
Look, I've mentioned this before. We have a large female audience, and hi for all of you that are watching. But this is also like kind of a show for dudes, right? It's two dudes talking dude stuff, dude issues, dude sports, all of that. Like, everybody watching at home knows that they've pitted out a shirt before. I'm just giving you an explanation. If you see that it's a little wet, it's because it's a unique thing. Like, obviously, I put on antiperspirant and all of that today. It's just I have no choice.
I do have an older T-shirt, like one of the vintage brands. So it's not an old T-shirt, but a new. And in the armpit, like it like, I don't know, almost like it acidically, like.
Is it like yellow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that from?
That's from your sweat.
That's from deodorant, right?
No, dude. That's from your sweat.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
It's not yellow. It's a light.
Jake, have you ever looked
It's a light blue shirt, and it's like a white. It's like it's bleached.
Have you ever looked at your pillowcase? Like, when you take off the pillowcase and you look at, like, the inner pillowcase, what color is that? It's not white, right? It's usually like this, like, yellowish, like, ugh. It's because you sweat on it, and it seeps in there, and that's the issue.
It went from a light blue to like a bleached color.
Okay.
It's not yellow.
Okay, well, everybody has, like, yellow sweat stains sometimes on shirts and old shirts.
Well, you're the one that bought pea-stained pants.
It could have been coffee. It could have been, we don't know, tea. We don't know really. It was in the crotch region. But have you not spilled something like that poor lady at McDonald's from all those years ago? Like, people spill sometimes drinks in their crotch. Okay. So,
there were a lot of really.
Yeah,
what
were we talking about wild card weekend?
What was the best NFL game this weekend?
Oh, it's kind of hard to top Jags Chargers, right? I mean, the comeback, the fans being as into it as they were. It was almost like an unstoppable force versus a movable object, because, yes, the Chargers have this history of chargering, if you will, and choking away leads. But you don't usually expect Jacksonville, right, to be the one that rallies to the cause.
I had said this morning, Derek. Trevor Lawrence, to me, I have felt since the time that he started playing in college that he had Peyton Manning level tendencies, and he reminded me of his size, his ability at the line, all of it. And Peyton Manning, a lot of people forget, for a long time in the early Peyton Manning years, he did not have playoff success, and he was a playoff. The game dropped drastically for him in the playoffs. And watching Trevor Lawrence with his 4 picks in the first half, 2 of them probably weren't his fault, but nonetheless. I thought, oh, man, this is exactly what something just happens, right? But the way he bounced back was impressive.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you have to be special with your arm and accuracy and all that stuff, right? But you got to be special here. And I don't just mean like reading an NFL defense, which obviously Peyton Manning was special with that, but bouncing back from adversity and just letting it kind of go away. And the fact that Trevor Lawrence wasn't completely and totally mentally crushed after that first half is a testament to, I think, the kind of player that he is eventually going to be. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, Jake. This is year 2.
Well, and that's got to be of concern if you're a Colt, right?
Yeah, I think it's just got to be the quarterbacks right now in the AFC. I think just have to be a real concern.
I mean,
if you're a
Trevor
Colt.
Lawrence is 23 years old.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jake, because I'm not trying to depress everybody early in the show, but I had tweeted out that the Jaguars have 3 times as many playoff wins in the last 8 years as the Colts do, which is true, and it's obviously weighted because the Colts only have 1, so it's only 3 for Jacksonville, but still. And Scott Kazmar, who used to work for Football Outsiders, responded, and I'd never really thought of it this way because, time passes, right? And you forget how much time has passed. But he was talking about how the Bengals have triple the amount or double the amount of playoff wins as Baltimore now, or as many as the Steelers have since their last Super Bowl win, or the Bills surging in front of the Patriots in the AFC East. And you're kind of looking at the landscape, particularly of the AFC, and it's completely changed. Because for like 15, 20 years, every single year, Patriots, Steelers, Colts, sometimes the Ravens. It was those 4 franchises, really. And now it's none of those 4 franchises, right? It's a whole new ballgame.
How about this, by the way? If this stat, courtesy of Kevin Bowen, if Tom Brady wins tonight, he will have more postseason victories.
Then how many NFL franchises?
You want to guess?
Oh, God. It's got to be in the 20s. 20, I'll go Jordan's number. He has, well, actually, that seems high. Let's go legal drinking age, 21.
If Tom Brady wins against, and again, we're taping this on Monday.
Yeah.
If Tom Brady beats the Dallas Cowboys, which that game, please do not watch it until after you've watched Query and Schultz.
I mean, I would guess Tom Brady has 27 playoff wins.
If Tom Brady beats the Dallas Cowboys, he will have more postseason wins than any franchise in the National Football League.
Wow.
He will have 37 postseason victories.
Wow.
The New England Patriots have 35.
Of course. Mainly with Brady.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, San Francisco 49ers are the only other 30.
Okay.
Over 30, and then Green Bay has like 28.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, when you think about it, even if they had the bye most of those years, that's at least 2 playoff wins every year that they made the Super Bowl, and he's been to 10 Super Bowls.
Right.
So that's 20, right?
Well,
I guess I wasn't doing the math
think of
right.
it this
That's
way.
20 right there.
So if he has 36 right now,
And that's just in the Super Bowl years.
he has how many with the Bucks? 3?
No, 4, right? Because they would have won a wild card weekend game last year, and then they would have won 3 in 20.
Okay,
when they won the Super Bowl.
So that means 32 of them came with New England.
With New England, yeah.
Then New England has the year
Super
that they
Bowl
won,
in 85.
Yeah, so
and
they
then
won
the Super Bowl in 96.
Oh, the Super Bowl. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. So that would be 2 and 2.
Yeah, so they must have.
Oh, actually, the Patriots could have won the. Well, no, they wouldn't have a bye in the championship. It would have had to have been 2 and 2.
I forgot about the Bledsoe year.
That would have been expansion.
So anyway, so maybe they would have what then 28 or 29 maybe.
Okay.
I don't
yeah.
know.
Whatever it is. I mean, it's a crazy, stupid sort of number there. The other games, the Giants hadn't won. I don't know if people realize how bad the Giants have been. Giants hadn't won a postseason game since the Super Bowl here. That's how long it had been. 11 years. They'd only been back once in 16. They lost at Lambeau to Rodgers and the Packers.
For the New York Giants, Derek, you got to give a lot of credit to Daniel Jones. That goes to show while the Indianapolis Colts are figuring out what they want to do at the quarterback position, and what we are seeing right now in these playoffs are the ways that it has to work with the quarterback. Like Daniel Jones is a guy. What year is this for him?
4.
4?
Yeah.
And it's just now coming together for him. But he looks like a really good player, right?
Yeah.
But you had to get the pieces around him and et cetera. We shall see for the Colts. I mean, are they going to draft a quarterback this year?
Yes. The game is...
I don't know. What if C.J. Stroud's not there?
The game is shifting in favor of Daniel Jones' skill set. I think that's what's happened, where not only are you mobile, you are like a threat. Like you are like a 70, 80-yard rush threat. And that's what he is. And it's almost like the passing stuff has just kind of come along. he's always had the legs, but now he's combining those two things. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and say Daniel Jones is going to be like an all-pro or anything like that, but he certainly looks like he can be a top half NFL quarterback now.
For the Colts at the quarterback position, let's begin with this, Derek. What we know is that the Colts likely are going to have a new quarterback next year. I mean, I think that's you can almost guarantee that.
Yeah, likely. Yeah, it's guaranteed.
Well, but maybe some of that depends on who's coaching them. Right now, as it stands, the Colts have interviewed, I believe it's seven individuals. Yeah. I am under the belief, the more I've thought about this, that there are three categories. There's category 1, category 2, category 3, obviously. Category 1 is, I think this is Jim Harbaugh's job if he wants it. And if Jim Harbaugh calls Jim Irsay and says, let's get the band back together, I'm ready to do it, I think it's his job. Then there's category 2, which is Jim Irsay said to Chris Ballard, I want you to conduct interviews, just to conduct interviews, and see if anybody blows you away. And if somebody blows you away, you let me know, and I will put them in the hopper of the names that I'm going to think about so long as Jim Harbaugh does not call me. I would bet right now, of those that have been interviewed, that Raheem Morris and Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, are the two that have separated themselves in that grouping. And then there's Jeff Saturday, who I think Jim Irsay deep down wants to hire. So I think unless Harbaugh throws his hat in the ring, I would bet that Raheem Morris, no particular order, Raheem Morris, Ben Johnson, Jeff Saturday, it's one of those three guys.
Gut feeling, or did you hear that they
gut feeling.
Okay. Because from what I'm seeing from the Michigan side of the reports, it appears that it's a strong lean that Harbaugh's just coming back. He's kind of barking around trying to see if he can get a raise or something like that.
Right. Understood.
Who knows? Things can change, right? What interests me about this list is that it doesn't really hit one theme. It's a bunch of guys who have different disciplines. And
fair.
I think for the most part, you have young up-and-comers like Ben Johnson or the Avero, the defensive coordinator from Denver. If you want a rah-rah guy, like an old-school guy, Aaron Glenn certainly fits that. And then Bieniemy, who people have been talking about getting a job, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. So I think it's a great list, Jake. I think you can go right. You never know how a head coaching guy is going to turn out, right?
The challenge
but I think you can go right with a lot of these guys.
The thing about Bieniemy is that Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator in Kansas City who has a dynamic offense, but he's not calling the plays.
Yeah.
So, does he get demerited in some regard for that?
Maybe. I don't know. You can always learn how to do that, right? Raheem Morris, to me, is the one that I think checks the most boxes.
I would agree.
Because he's been in it before. He kind of like Saturday, probably was thrown into a situation that he wasn't ready for and learned from it, and now has since, obviously remained a coach and is a well-respected guy, and his players like him. That one really makes sense for me. But as much as I've gone after Irsay for how he's handled some of these decisions this year, whether it's his list or it's Chris Ballard's list, I mean, we've been critical of both of them. This is a good list. Wouldn't you agree? Like, this is the kind of list that I was hoping that they were going to be able to put together.
That's a fair way of saying it. The other thing that comes into play, whoever the coach is going to be, and again, I'm going to go back to, I think it's Harbaugh's if he wants it, and then I think it's between Saturday, probably Johnson, and Raheem Morris. I can't believe I just spaced his last name.
Were you going to say Raheem Brock?
Yeah,
Because I keep wanting to call him Raheem Brock.
I got Brock Purdy on the mind. I mean, all that. But anyway, I think it's probably one of those three guys. But there's probably going to be a new quarterback. Matt Ryan is not going to be back. He might be on the roster, but for financial reasons, I can't imagine that, but he ain't going to be back.
He's been such a pro. I do wonder if they would bring him back if he agreed to be the mentor and be the backup quarterback.
But what is interesting now is if you have Chicago at number 1, if C.J. Stroud, which it looks like may happen, and this might be resolved by the time this airs,
again, we're victim of timing here.
But if C.J. Stroud comes back to Ohio State, then you have basically 2, maybe 3 franchise quarterbacks in the draft if you think Richardson of Florida is a franchise quarterback. But for the most part, you're looking at Bryce Young and then Will Levis, and that's it.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Chicago's price tag goes up for that number 1 overall pick, and if Indianapolis wants to try to get themselves in position to secure the guy they want, are they going to have to give up even more to get there?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Chicago is in a really good spot. I'm seeing some of the Colts trade deals, and one of them was, the number 4 pick in Jonathan Taylor. You're gonna have to do a lot more than that, guys.
Yeah.
I know you love Jonathan Taylor, but you got to do a lot more than that. Number 4 pick in Jonathan Taylor is not going to get you up to 1. That's not.
It would be.
You got to attach at least another
the
pick.
number
with that.
4 pick, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and a future second round.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or if not another player, then next year's first, or another 2, probably this year's second, something like that. It's tough. I don't think that Bryce Young is their guy. Ballard has kept sort of a theme now. Now he hasn't picked a quarterback, right? And I'm not talking about like Eason and Ellen. Those guys don't count. He hasn't really picked a quarterback, but for the most part, he has kind of fit the mold of of measuring the height, weight, athleticism, and having all of that. Right? Remember being talked into Kenny Moore?
Right.
He had to be talked into Kenny Moore. Bryce Young's so small, I think you would have to talk him into Bryce Young, and I don't think he'd be willing to do it.
This is what is fascinating to me regarding Chris Ballard's philosophy and where there's evidence that it hasn't worked. And let me explain what I mean by that. You look right there at Chris Ballard. When Chris Ballard took the job, he was very adamant about the fact, and he has made no bones about the fact, that he believes that football is about more than one position. Football is about more than the quarterback. It's about the totality of your roster. And when you look at San Francisco, who wins a playoff game with dynamic play from a rookie third-string quarterback, and you look at Miami, that was within a whisker of pulling off an upset in Buffalo with a rookie third-string quarterback, and you look at Baltimore, that was 2 feet away from shocking the defending AFC champion on the road with a backup quarterback. Those teams support Chris Ballard's theory that it's about more than the quarterback. But that then shows you that perhaps those teams are built to be more than the quarterback. And the Colts have yet to address the quarterback position, meaning that Chris Ballard was resting on the roster that he built. And without a quarterback, it's a 4-win team. The other teams that are built well are able to win
can overcome it
despite the quarterback situation. The Colts have a quarterback situation and a bad roster. And that's an indictment on the guy you just saw.
Yeah, like I said with the roster, I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad.
I don't think it's bad from a talent standpoint.
Individual pieces that
Correct.
don't.
I agree. It's not built well.
Fit.
And the Colts have, this is not an educated guess. This is now in getting evidence or talking to people. The Colts had a character culture problem. The Colts had guys in the locker room that were not playing with one another and total lack of discipline.
It's way worse than I think people thought.
Correct.
The last 8-10 weeks. And that's why, like we've said, even though we've been really critical of Jeff Saturday, it was a tough situation to sort of step into. It's still crazy to me, Jake, that this would all kind of fall apart in 13 months.
It is.
It's wild.
Right. This time a year ago, we're talking about what pieces they can put in to make a push.
But then again, you would have been laughed out of the room if you would have suggested that both the Jaguars and Giants would be playing divisional weekend 12 months ago right now. So the beauty of the NFL, the blessing and the curse of the NFL is that it can go like this real quick. It can also bounce right back up again. So I'm trying to be optimistic here, but the Colts have to hit on head coach and they have to hit on quarterback.
Okay.
They have to.
Can I tell you my one other question of the week for the NFL? I am literally befuddled by this. And maybe it's because I'm ignorant or naive or I missed a press release. But I don't think so. Derek, we know what happened when Cincinnati and Buffalo were scheduled to play each other in Week 16, Week 17, whichever way you want to look at it. And I recall at that time saying, this is going to be interesting if these two face off in the playoffs, and that game would have been the deciding factor as to where it was played. If you look at it, They only played 16 games, those two teams. The Buffalo Bills have 3 losses. The Cincinnati Bengals have 4. So now that they're scheduled to play each other in the postseason, home field advantage, Buffalo. They have the better record. But if that game had been finished, had DeMar Hamlin, thank goodness he's okay, not been hurt, and that game plays and Cincinnati wins it, then they both have 4 losses, and Cincinnati has the head-to-head. That game is now played in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. So if you have made the decision to play the AFC Championship game on a neutral field, why is this game not being played on a neutral field? Buffalo has home field advantage over Cincinnati because of that was cemented by a game that was canceled. So shouldn't that game be the one that's played in a neutral field?
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't know.
It makes no sense to me.
I don't know.
By the way, we'd like to thank Bailey & Wood for being the presenting sponsor of Query & Schultz. Bailey & Wood, of course, your hometown mortgage experts, keeping their money right here in Central Indiana and making sure that you are staying in your home in Central Indiana. Derek, mortgage rates starting to level out just a little bit, but Bailey & Wood is committed towards doing the right thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. 5-star customer service. They just had their big holiday bash just over the weekend where they gave out a new car, and it was a great night. Down there with Mike and the rest of the team, and his daughter Bailey was the MC of the whole event.
Mike's got to be devastated over his Dolphins loss.
You know what, though? You hold your heads high, right? I mean, yeah, it sucks that they couldn't get that snap off and that it ended the way that it did, but no one was giving the Dolphins a chance in that game.
They were confused by what down it was, they said?
I don't know what happened there. It's just sometimes a 10-year-old on Madden.
Mike Wood is a fan of the Miami Dolphins.
A 10-year-old on Madden at times has better clock management skills than NFL head coaches. It's sad. I don't know why we run into this all the time. I don't know if you just freeze in the moment
Probably less
or what.
pressure in your living room playing Madden.
I guess. I don't know. I put a lot of pressure on myself playing Madden when I was a kid. I would do play-by-play while it was going on. Did you used to do that?
No.
Well, you had like what? Atari? Did you have like Pong? Did you do play-by? You're old.
Yeah.
So
Pitfall?
Yeah. So you do play-by-play for that, I guess. But like I at least had like the 8-bit into the 16-bit era. So it wasn't great, but like Nintendo into Genesis and SNES, and you could do literal like
what about
call
Intellivision
plays and all of that. What is that? The ColecoVision had the joystick, right?
Yeah. Intellivision.
I remember
that.
My buddy had a ski cabin that had a ColecoVision in it, and this was like the '90s, and we're like, "What the hell is this thing?" And now
fun,
that's
right?
40 years old. Yeah.
Nonetheless, so Bailey & Wood, Derek, give us the numbers on how to get in touch with Bailey.
855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com.
Love Bailey & Wood. And also, we are inside the Lou Malnati studio. We've got some codes for you to use later for delivery purposes.
Yeah, free delivery. Actually, you can see it. Wait. There it is.
No,
all right.
Hold
on.
on.
No, this way.
There we go. Right there.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, yes. Yeah, I should
QNS. So N for like and. Remember Deuce, God rest his soul, used to always put query N Schultz, just the letter N. It was like, no, it's the ampersand or whatever. QNS, free Dell 23. So QNS, our names. FRE for free, Dell for delivery, 23 for the year.
Okay.
Yep.
QNS. It looks like it says ONS Fred.
It's fine.
QNS free Dell.
Well, the problem is I hesitate.
QNS free Dell.
This is your fault, but of course, we have to associate and put things with the letter Q leading, and that has been problematic, as you've noticed.
I used to wear the hat with the letter Q on it.
Yeah, you got to throw all that away. Yeah, you can't wear that stuff anymore,
No.
or else somebody will be coming up to you at Costco. Hey, hear about the lasers or whatever? Yeah, I'm just
a conspiracy theory
trying to get
group
toilet
has
paper.
ruined my last initial.
just
Thank you
trying
very
to get
much.
some
for
toilet paper.
Thank you
Sorry,
so much for
leave me alone, weirdo.
By the way, one of the other sponsors that we are always happy to talk about is that of WGU Indiana. WGU.edu/Indiana is Indiana's largest online accredited university. Did you know that 700,000 Hoosiers have college credits sitting on the shelf that they have never completed their degree? And if you're like me, you thought that perhaps those credits expired. They do not. You can always go back to school, WGU.edu/Indiana, for an online accredited university with a multitude of programs, and work at your own schedule because ambition never rests. And WGU is there for you. Or if you want a job certification, like Derek's wife got for the workplace, that also available at WGU. And Derek, they bring us each and every week our Sage Move of the Week.
Yeah, how about this? The Giants finally getting it right at head coach.
Heck of a hire.
They kind of pushed out Tom Coughlin, and it was probably time to move on from Tom Coughlin. But Bob McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, and Joe Judge was the worst of all. All had failed 2-year stints, and then you bring in Brian Daboll, and look at what they've done.
And where did he come from?
He was an offensive coordinator for 4 or 5 NFL teams, and Alabama. So one of the championship years, I think the year they beat Georgia, he was the OC. But he had run the offenses in, I think, Miami. He's part of the Belichick coaching tree, actually, from way back.
And he's a good coach.
Yeah, and they've really responded.
And
to it.
they kind of parlay, I guess, on that Sage move as well. Back to what we were talking about, and that is the Sage move of sticking with and being patient with Daniel Jones, because there was chatter that, they had drafted him high and, did they take the wrong guy? Did they need to move on from him? But standing by him and building an offense around what he can do, pretty smart move.
For sure. And you know what? They've been banged up at receiver, and he's done a really – and Saquon Barkley having a little bit of a renaissance year has certainly helped. And the offensive line, them figuring some things out. So, Jake, it's not the Steelers or the Packers per se, but the Giants – are traditionally a great franchise, right? I think they're viewed that way, and the last 10 years, they were the Jets, along with the Jets. So it's nice to see them finally take a step forward.
When we come back, little college round ball to talk about?
College hoops to talk about. Right. Big week looming for Purdue, and a critical win for Indiana against an unexpected opponent. And we'll discuss that when we return.
They knew they were playing them.
No, but you wouldn't expect Indiana to have a get-right game against this opponent. Yeah. Oh, Vince is giving me the round. Bye, Corey and Schultz. Come back. See ya.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood, Mortgage Lender presents Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Jake, I'm going to take you back a ways. This was 25-something years ago. Actually, not quite 25 years ago. I think I was a senior in high school. I'm watching the Indiana basketball game with my dad in Connecticut. We could only get the national games. And it was AJ Guyton. It was Knights last year, so it would have been 2000. So I was a junior in high school. And Indiana lost their regular season finale at Wisconsin that year. And Wisconsin actually ended up going to the Final Four. Remember, they were like an 8-9 seed with Dick Bennett, and they went. But anyway.
I think Dwayne, was he on that team?
I think so. Okay. But anyway, at that time.
Kirk Penny?
I remember. Yeah, I think he was. Okay. Let me tell my story.
Brian Butch?
No, that was later on. That was like Sampson era.
Okay.
At that time, I was thinking, Wisconsin? Can't believe Indiana lost to Wisconsin. What? In the years since then, basically in the 21st century, so ever since I started college, Wisconsin has completely dominated Indiana. They had won.
You say it Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
But you say Wisconsin.
I say Wisconsin.
You say it like it's Wes.
Wisconsin.
Like Wesley, and then Conson. It's Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Okay, that time you got it right.
Wisconsin.
Okay. From 80 to 97, Indiana had not lost to Wisconsin.
Oh my God, is that really true? Wow. I mean, I know they were a doormat for years, but they had won 23 of the last 27. Indiana hasn't won at Wisconsin since 98. It's the opening year of Kohl Center, whenever that was. So it's been a really long time. So looking at that game, I saw Indiana was favored by 4.5, and I was thinking to myself, this is free money. I'm glad I didn't do anything on that. So I think it's meaningful, Jake, for Indiana to get a win in Big Ten play, because it looked like the season was going out of their grasp.
Teetering.
But I do think it's significant, and maybe we'll look back at this as I don't want to overrate and live everything day to day, but you do wonder, maybe this is the turnaround that they needed because of the opponent. To embarrass Wisconsin the way that they did, they've spent most of this century getting embarrassed by Wisconsin. So now to beat them the way that they did, I think it's significant. It's not a great Wisconsin team, but still.
What is interesting is the way that they beat them. They really, really ramped up their defense. But then in addition to that, kind of uncharacteristically, they had a big offensive second half against Wisconsin, a team that wants to slow and lull you down, right? And not necessarily even balance in terms of their scoring per se, but that was a big scoring half against a Wisconsin team that typically that does not happen against.
And you need these spare pieces to do something. You need it not just to be the Trace Jackson-Davis show. And Jordan Geronimo was great, 12 and 11. And Jalen Hood-Schifino, again, was great as well. So an important win. It doesn't mean anything if Indiana just goes right back into the gutter, but it just shows, I don't care that you don't have Race Thompson and Xavier Johnson, to not really even be competitive against Penn State or for large portions of the Northwestern game or for the second half of the Iowa game, it's unacceptable.
Well, what do I say, Derek?
It's unacceptable.
What I always say is when you lose a game that you weren't supposed to lose, you've got to later come up with a win that maybe was chalked up as an L when you looked at the season.
Yeah.
They've made up one of them now, but they still got other games to make up, right? I mean, they've got some losses in there, to your point, that
isn't it sad, and I don't want to talk about, remember the good old days. Isn't it sad that you would expect Indiana to lose any game at home?
Oh,
that's where we are, though, right, with where it is. Purdue, I'm going to hesitate here because they've got this Michigan State game, so I don't want to.
Right.
But Fletcher Lawyer, 27 points. These freshmen, him and Braden Smith, have been outstanding, and they're in the catbird seat. This is a big week for them, though, with Michigan State and at Minnesota, where historically they've not played well, even though – clearly Minnesota's not a great team this year. And a big week for Indiana. They got to go to the other Assembly Hall, and then they host Michigan State.
No, for Indiana in particular, it feels like it gets tougher here, right?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, coming off.
Yeah, because you were supposed to take care of business against Iowa and Northwestern.
I realize Indiana's been injured, but, I mean, you got to overcome those things.
You still put way more talent on the floor than Northwestern could ever dream of putting on the floor, even without 40% of your starting lineup.
Do we still have the code up? Look, it's still there.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. In fact, wait, hold on. I'm pointing the wrong way.
Right.
Little bit.
There we go.
More. There we go.
Right there. It's hard to do. See, this is like doing it in the mirror. It's throwing
No,
me
that's
off.
weird. That's almost like you're trying to pinpoint it. You got to be like the weatherman, where you. Hold on. Can you guys just get me on my shot here? There we go. Hi. So wait, no, hold on. Like this. Well, I don't want to cup it. That's weird. There we go. Or like on a platter, Jake. Look. Watch. Huh? How about that? Eat, lose pizza. All right. Free delivery. Right to your house. Split out. Order.lumonnice.com.
Split out.
Use our code QNS FREDEL. QNS free delivery and the year 23. Free delivery for all the
Michael
pies
Jordan
to your house. Well, just do the year. I don't really.
Trace Jackson-Davis.
Yeah, sure, fine.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't think we have to give them a chunk of the NIL money if we do that. Yeah, so we can't use anybody with that. But for Indy area locations, Broad Ripple, Carmel, West 86th Street, across from Brebeuf, Greenwood. The Avon location is coming in the spring. I think we're gonna do the thing where we get the huge scissors and you and I get to cut it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't pitched that to Luz yet, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're gonna agree.
What do you mean? You think we're doing it, but they don't know this?
That's what I envisioned.
I got news for you. If you're walking around with a huge pair of scissors, somebody's going to call the police.
That's what I envisioned for.
There's a little guy out here with a big pair of scissors.
I was assuming that we were going to be the ones to kind of cut the tape and welcome everybody, because it's a big deal. Hey, Query and Schultz are here, plus getting Lou Malnati's pie on the west side. Anyway, who's cooking this week? Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Playing well.
There is an entire graveyard of discarded IU hyped freshmen who never came close to living up.
Let me come up with a small list.
to the hype, right? I mean, you can go probably all day. I don't know if he's going to be able to fit on that tiny sheet of paper that you have there. And Jalen Hood-Schifino has looked the part. Like, he looks like a blue chip recruit. He looks like potentially a future pro already. And a lot more is being asked of him than I think anyone would have thought because of the Xavier Johnson injury. So he is now a key factor and a key component of Indiana's success here moving forward. So that's a lot to put on the shoulders of a 19-year-old.
Hang on, I'm still writing.
Even a blue-chip 19-year-old. So who's cooking this week? Jalen Hood-Schifino. It could easily have been Fletcher Lawyer, but I'm pretty sure we just chose Fletcher Lawyer previously for one of our awards, so I didn't want to double up. We'll have other opportunities to award Purdue players.
Would you like to guess, just take a guess at some of my names on my list here?
I mean, Hunter Perea is your favorite one, I know.
Hunter Perea, right there, yep. Got him.
Is your favorite one.
Okay.
Jeremy Hollowell?
Forgot about Jeremy Hollowell.
Yeah.
The movement, baby. Okay.
I I'm trying to go back like farther. William Gladness.
He was an okay player. He was a JUCO transfer, wasn't he?
I thought he was supposed to be all like.
No, he was okay.
Who was in that group that came in with Andre Patterson?
Charlie Miller?
Yeah, maybe Charlie Miller was the one that I was thinking of.
Charlie Miller, Andre Patterson, Delray Brooks,
Yeah.
David Minor, Romeo Langford, Eric Gordon, Hunter Perea, Peter Jerkin.
Peter Jerkin, wow. Yeah.
Remember when Peter Jerkin and Hunter Perea were deemed ineligible for the first 10 games, and people were like, this is an outrage because they're only going to be here a year. They're both going pro.
I mean,
Peter Jerkin couldn't play dead,
for
and
the
he
most
tried
part,
3 times.
he was a good player, but Marshall Strickland was supposed to be like a 5-star player. He was fine, whatever.
Right.
He was okay. Wasn't a great player. Bracey Wright had the back, so I always gave Bracey a little bit of a. Bracey Wright was never the same after the back injury his freshman year.
He was a good player.
Yeah, and he was still a really, really productive and good player. But Mike Davis had a class with DJ White, James Hardy, God rest his soul, Robert Vaden, AJ Ratliff was another one I remember.
Yeah,
He was Mr.
AJ
Basketball,
Ratliff,
and he had one big game against Wisconsin once. He was just a guy.
What's the last team that you think Bracey Wright played for?
Ooh. He's
I'm gonna look it up
probably
right now.
still overseas, I bet, right?
I'm going to say, are we going to go with China or Finland?
I'm going to go, I was thinking Iceland, but let's go one of the Nordic countries, sure.
One of the Nordic
Let's go one of
countries.
those, yeah.
All right, here we go.
pay
Bracey
with a
Wright.
broad
I've
brush.
got it right here. Wikipedia. as
Marshall
we know,
Strickland,
is-
a dentist, by the way, very successful. I talked to him a couple of years ago. He's
this is
really
a-
nice, smart kid. Or dude, I guess.
the
He's
teams
my
that
age.
Bracey Wright played for: Minnesota Timberwolves,
Yeah.
Florida Flame, Eris, which is a team
Italy?
in Greece,
Okay.
Ostende,
Turkey.
Belgium,
Okay.
France. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with any of this. They probably make good money in all of them, and it actually is kind of cool.
You're playing professional basketball
Right.
for your life. I mean, yeah, they
Then
do well.
to
those guys.
Croatia.
Okay. Croatia's actually good leagues.
Then after Croatia, it is
So does Greece.
Spain.
Spain has good leagues.
Then after he played in Spain, he was in Russia. This is unbelievable. This is pretty fascinating.
Is he still playing, or is he done?
Israel?
Yeah.
No, we're up to 2015. Turkey.
Okay.
This is unreal. Like, he has not played in the same country twice yet.
It's
Again in Turkey, new team.
an interesting life, isn't it? I mean, you get
It
to
is.
travel the world and get paid to play basketball.
3 teams in Turkey. And the last team that he played for, Czech National Republic,
Cool. When was the last time you played? 2018?
2019.
Okay, yeah, I figured right around there. So, yeah, it's a great career. I mean, you played 20 years of basketball. It's pretty darn good. So, lose code, order at LouMalnati's.com to get some pies with our friends at Lose. Bite or Bowl Bleep coming up. We have Ball State, Cards in 60 to get to, and remembering Dr. King and his legacy. We'll talk about that as well. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
So, Derek, breaking news, so to speak, from when we began the program to now, right?
Yeah, CJ
Which will be
Stroud
old news by the time people are watching this.
in the draft. So he decided to go, which is, I think we would all agree, is the right decision.
It's also the best news for those of us who hate Ohio State.
I mean, you got to think, too, Jake, that with Caleb Williams and, the uncertainty of, God forbid, he got hurt next year.
Well, the kid from North Carolina
yeah.
coming out next year.
That's something that you have to really look at. and say, okay, at worst, I think Stroud on most draft boards, there are going to be a couple of people that are really in love with Will Levis. On most draft boards, Stroud is going to be no lower than 2.
You know that Will Levis
Quarterback draft boards.
The 2 big things about Will Levis that everybody talks about. Apparently, he eats bananas with the peel.
Phil Sanchez does that. You know Phil Sanchez from Wish 8?
How do you do that?
He took a video of him doing it. I guess there's fiber in the peel.
Yeah, but how do you eat it? Like it would be.
Just eat it like you would string cheese without peeling it. It's the same thing. Like you're a psychopath if you don't peel the string cheese. That's the whole point of string cheese.
But a banana peel though.
Yeah, is edible.
I know, but like it would be so tough, right?
I mean, it's chewy. I'm sure. I've never sampled it. I've never tried. So I guess I shouldn't hate
you
too
know
much
that you're
without trying
supposed to, or not supposed to, but you know it's really nutritious to eat the pit of an avocado.
Like that hard rock thing in the middle?
Exactly. Like how would you do it?
You boil it?
I don't know. It's full of vitamin E.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I never heard that in my life. I know avocados are good. Like, we get them all the time. They have about a 50% hit. It's kind of like you on this show. Like, every other show or so, you're pretty good on the show. Like today, you've been pretty good. So you're a green avocado here. Sometimes you're brown. Ugh. Or you just are flavorless. You ever get an avocado and you're like, yes, this looks perfect. And then you bite into it and you're like, ugh.
Do you know this? Do you know
tastes like air.
If you take avocado and let's say you put it in, you're preparing it, but you don't use all the avocado, and you have to put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
you put it with an onion, and it preserves it.
You put it with the pit.
Well, I also leave the pit in it, but you put it with an onion, and it helps preserve it, too. A sliced onion.
Just the pit.
Put it together. Yeah, no, sliced onion.
No, just the pit.
And a sliced onion.
You don't need the onion.
You can put the pit in there, and it'll still rot out.
No.
How do you not have onions in your house? You're a grown adult.
Who has onions just laying around their house?
Everyone?
For what?
You don't have a bag of onions in your house? Or like onion? We use it
what
for
am I, Bill Raftery? No.
We use
Why
it
would
for
I have
a lot of the meals that we make. We put onions in basically like it's like not having garlic.
Who has garlic?
Of course we have garlic in our house. Jake,
do you have Listerine?
Here's the thing. There's a 2-bedroom apartment where you live alone, and there's like a jar of mustard and a couple of energy drinks.
That's
in
right.
There. Like
Labatt's.
A thing of Skippy. Like that. Yeah. That's not how. That's not how most people live.
Okay.
Most people who are like even Vince. Vince has a girlfriend. They live together in an apartment, right? You have all these things, right, in your house. Yes, because you cook meals. You don't just go out to Chili's every night, or with Shannon somewhere. Like a lot of people don't have those IndyCar retainer checks coming in.
Well,
so they're not able to go and do that all the time and go to Harry and Izzy's or wherever.
Yeah, I just went there for lunch the other day. Yeah, it's good.
See, that's what I'm talking about. What were you talking about? C.J. Stroud declared for the draft. All right. Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, yes, in the NFL draft.
Levis, I think even look, if the Colts got to 1, I think that they would be thinking about taking Bryce Young, but I would be surprised if even Levis wasn't above Young on their draft board. Like I think the height thing for Young is a non-starter for Ballard.
I think I think Will Levis of Kentucky is Chris Ballard's #1 quarterback.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance that
I think
that's
he
the
is
case.
he is the one that is seen as a Josh
the
Allen type.
measurables.
Correct.
Yeah, and the spark and whatever else.
But he puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
Yeah, I saw a video of him doing that, and I almost just.
I can't even.
Yeah.
The only thing more disgusting than coffee is mayonnaise.
Yeah, so you're not even a coffee guy. Like you're just. I can't talk to you about like food and drink. Like you have the palate of a toddler.
That's not true at all.
Like we went to. I told this story on the show before. Not to get too far off the pack. We got other features and stuff to get to. We went to New Orleans for the Final Four 2012. So what? 10 years, 11 years ago, whatever. Mm-hmm. We go down. It's New Orleans, right? We go to an authentic Cajun place. And I'm like, when in Rome, right? I'm going to get a po' boy because it's freaking New Orleans. So I get a shrimp po' boy. Delicious. Remoulade sauce, the whole deal. Jake gets a cheeseburger, and they ask him for a side. And, of course, they have, like red beans and rice and, like, authentic sides,
Derek.
right? They put cheeseburgers on for idiots like Jake. He asked for crinkle-cut fries.
Derek.
Not just fries. Crinkle-cut fries.
We were at Popeyes.
Like you were 5 years old.
You were not getting an authentic.
It wasn't Popeyes.
Like
it was an authentic Cajun place. Okay. They don't have cheeseburgers at Popeyes.
I told you of an authentic place you could go where I had gone before and had crawfish and
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you ever ate that in your life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd be surprised you ever ate that in your life.
I gave you the directions on how to get there. Then I had to go to Birmingham for IndyCar. I came back, and you said that you went one block off of the French Quarter with your Marriott map looking for the place, and you got scared and left.
Look, I was probably 7 or 8 blocks off of the map. I'm not good at finding things, and I started noticing boarded up buildings, and then there was nobody around. And I had a coffee cup.
That's where the best restaurants are.
I had a coffee cup that said Hilton on it, and I was looking at a map. This was like pre-cell phone navigation era. And I was like, I should probably turn around and go back now.
I'm telling you, those are where the best restaurants are.
There were a lot of dogs barking at me. You know, like I felt like, okay. Probably not in the right
I
spot
went to
here.
Florence, Italy, and I had a genuine, authentic margherita pizza.
No, if you want the authentic pizza or a pizza, you go to New Haven, Connecticut. Not Italy.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you go Chicago style, you go to
How about this?
Chicago.
How about this? I had seafood paella in Barcelona.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that'll pass. That was probably a Shannon convincing you to do that, so you didn't get cheeseburgers.
No,
or
she got a
quesadilla
margarita
or
pizza
something.
at the same
Yeah.
place.
So, because Shannon has an advanced taste palate,
Obviously.
except in boyfriends. Yeah, except in that.
She likes the finer things in life.
All right.
Isn't that clear?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting to get this far off track on the show today. CJ Stroud declared for the draft. That's the big news. Let's get to our we'll get to Love That Play coming up here. We'll get to and Biden Bull Bleep as well. Cards in 60. We were just talking college hoops. Another good week for Ball State. Unfortunately, both the men and women did suffer their first MAC loss of the year, but they both bounced back, swept the Saturday doubleheader against Miami. So the men won, the women won. 12-5, 3-1 in the MAC for Michael Lewis and the guys. 13-4, 3-1 for the ladies. And both are off to a really strong start.
Our buddy
here.
Tyrone Shelton, who I've always said is the nice guy at the party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone, a Ball State alum, was a cheerleader there, and he's been having a ball posting and following the Ball State, both men and women's basketball, and posting about it, and went up for one of the games and posted a picture. And I'm telling you, it's just a great arena.
It's great, yeah.
Great arena, and both teams playing well. So what better value than to go up to Ball State Worthern Arena, check out what they're doing. Michael Lewis has got the guys in particular playing really well. Women's program, which has gone around the world to compile a good roster for them, playing well. And again, Derek, the way to get tickets?
888-BSU-TICKET or ballstatesports.com.
And we still have to get our Love That Play, right?
Yep. Well, we're going to do Biter Bull Bleep right now.
Biter Bull.
Yeah.
So doing it right
so
now?
we're gonna move it up a second. I try to kind of move it around.
Well, aren't you?
Chateau working on our basement as we speak. We got James a little Chateau Kitchen shirt that has his name on the back of it for Christmas because he likes the builders so much.
James or Schultz on the back?
It says Schultz on the back. Yeah.
Well, you guys could both wear it.
Yeah, that's really – actually, it's about as small as this shirt, which I've completely pitted out. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook, before and after pictures. Their work is outstanding. They stand by it. Megan's been a great designer for us. Ryan's been a great project manager, and Steven is a great dude, the owner of the whole place, Steven Moore. So give Chateau your business if you want the transformations in your house. Here's what we do with Buy or Bull Bleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. You ready for statement one?
Yes.
Jeff Saturday is just a token interview. Buy it or Bull Bleep?
1,000% Bull Schultz. Jeff Saturday is who Jim Irsay ultimately would like to see coaching the Colts.
Yeah, the biggest voice that matters is the owner. Any move has the owner's stamp of approval. I mean, I would argue, Jake, that if this was just Chris Ballard's coaching search, it probably doesn't include Jeff Saturday.
That may be true.
Because it's Jim Irsay.
But here's what we don't know.
It absolutely does.
What we don't know is whether or not Jeff Saturday was given a checklist by Jim Irsay when he became the interim coach, and that checklist may have had nothing to do with the results in the win-loss column, and that he might have been actually doing exactly what was asked of him.
The reason why I find that very hard to believe is how defensive and adamant what Jim Irsay was during his introductory press conference. Like there was an arrogance with Jim Irsay that we haven't seen before. And I think he was convinced that Saturday was going to be the new voice in the room. And I think everyone knew that it was a tough situation to throw Jeff Saturday into. But I think that he really thought that he was going to be the new voice in the room and the season turnaround was going to happen now. And remember after the Raiders game with the tweets and everything, it was who you crapping. I mean, he was thinking that we're going to go like this. And instead, of course,
Irsay put him in a bad spot.
Yeah.
How would you –
But it got worse.
I'm surprised, though, that you would be able to recognize arrogance because you're never around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go down to statement 2. We'll just let that one kind of lie out there. Purdue will win the Big Ten in hoops. Buy or Bull Bleep?
I buy that. Long way to go, but
they look to be the most complete.
They
right?
seem unflappable.
Of the teams.
Yeah, and they are very well coached.
I mean, there are other good teams in the Big Ten. It's not a great year for the league,
right?
But there are other.
I mean,
good
there's
teams.
there's a lot of parity within the Big Ten, right? But I would say Purdue.
Look, man,
if I had to pick a team right now, it would be Purdue.
If they're gonna get what they've gotten from like Lawyer and Smith continuing here, Zach Edey's the constant, right? You never really worry about him. He's one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant players in America. He's a first-team All-America. He's probably going to be Wooden Player of the Year with where we sit today. So it's just about the ancillary pieces. Like and I hesitate to even call them ancillary. Like at this point, Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are frontline players for Purdue. But if they can contribute on a consistent basis, then they're absolutely going to win the championship. Lamar Jackson will be playing elsewhere next season.
Bull Schultz. He will end up in Baltimore.
This always happens, doesn't it?
Baltimore's built for Lamar Jackson.
I'm a little surprised that he didn't even attend the game, right?
I get it.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you can be upset or
this
whatever
day and
else,
age, though.
Lamar Jackson, man, he is a gifted player and a great player, and part of me feels like he's not getting enough credit, and then also part of me finds myself being skeptical that he's like an MVP player. Is that weird? Like, I feel like I wrestle with my opinion of – I'm a hypocrite about my opinion of Lamar Jackson because I've been defensive of his, but also if I was starting a team today, he wouldn't be one of the first 5 guys I took.
Right. Fair.
I don't know if that, like –
it's
hard to pinpoint who
the one
he
thing about
is.
Lamar Jackson that would give me pause if I'm Baltimore is and he's a wonderful talent and a great player, all of it, an MVP. But his style of play is such that it would seem to shorten it. If you look at other guys that play that way, it shortens the window of, there's just a lot of wear and tear on it. And if he starts to decline and you've got him now under a big contract, that would give me pause.
Or somebody else has got to think about this. And obviously Lamar's far advanced as a passer than this person I'm going to mention. But the Bears at least have to consider that with Justin Fields, don't they?
Yeah.
They have to. They're in a position right now where if you're not 100% committed to him, then you got to move on, I think. If he's not your guy,
I think they're committed to him.
Then okay, then that's fine. But you have to make that decision now because this is your get out of jail free card here. This is your ability to move on from him if you choose to.
Have you been to jail?
No, I've only been ticketed. So I've been arrested, but not jail.
What'd you get arrested for?
I don't want to talk about it on the show. It was for something that has largely become decriminalized.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not speeding.
Pirating cable?
Well, the first thing is, it was my birthday. We were in the dorm room. We weren't bothering. We were just trying to play Nintendo. Like, leave me alone. I'm not hurting anybody. You know what I mean?
Is it legal in Michigan?
I don't know. It's like 23. It's up to 23 or 24 states. It's like half the country now. It's legal, right?
Colorado?
Yeah, well, Colorado it is, yeah.
Okay.
I know that. But not in Indiana.
Washington
State, I think it is legal. Vermont, you can grow it. So my
grow
brother-in-law, yeah, as long as you're using it yourself. But my brother-in-law has, like, you walk up to his front doorstep and in the garden, it's like, zucchini, whatever, and then some kind buds there. Yeah.
Okay.
Vermont's a different world, man.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't used what he's grown, like, Farmer Bill's marijuana plant or whatever. Like I haven't done any of that. And it's not something that I use anymore, but I am staunchly like pro.
But you were ticketed for it.
Marijuana. And I think, I think if you're a grown adult and that's how you relax and you want to sit back and smoke a joint in your house, like I have no problem with that at all. Like I think you should be completely free to do that. It's been a weird show today.
What's the code again for the Lou Malnati's delivery?
I don't think they want to be associated with that.
Probably true.
I don't think they want to be connected to that. Love that play when we come back. And Dr. King and his legacy and how to continue that. We're going to talk about that when we come back. ISC Sports Network, it's Query and Schultz.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. It is time for Love That Play. Easy for me to say. Brought to you by the good guys.
3-2-1.
What's that?
Say 3-2-1, and Vince grabs it in post. Jordan always did it. Our editing.
Yeah,
but
they
now
don't.
Vince. Actually, JD could probably edit this now. JD's a new addition to the ICT.
They don't do that, Derek. We just go with it. We just roll.
No, you roll. We just roll. You're right. We do the countdown, and then they go back and flag it in Premiere Pro, and then they cut it out for us.
Love Heating and Air Conditioning always gets it right the
3,
first
2,
time.
1.
That's what we love about them. And, of course, love-hvac.com. But if there is of concern, they have 24-hour on-call maintenance. But Love Heating and Air Conditioning has been around for over 100 years in Central Indiana. Great product, knowledge of product, great prices, and commitment to you, the customer, all what you get from Love Heating and Air Conditioning. 317-353-2141 is their telephone number. Derek, I'm not saying this is going to be I Love That Play, but I do want to say this because I love that I was told this. Congratulations to the girls basketball team at the Indiana School for the Deaf as they are the national champions
Awesome.
among girls in deaf school basketball.
That's
national
great.
champs right
National.
here in Indiana.
Not
Yeah,
just
very
state,
cool.
national. We grow
Very
basketball here, Jake. Congrats to them. Staying on that topic of We Grow Basketball, unfortunately, I Love That Play happened against the We Grow Basketball team. You get a pretty good view of that jaw dunk.
I mean, he had the ball
Yeah.
I mean, down like
That's what was so impressive about it is that he cocked back like all the way
right
before unleashing that on, I think it was Jalen Smith, right? That was
the whole
kind of in the
team.
vicinity. And what was cool was I love being in there when it's packed and
Sold out.
when there is a away presence. So like the Bulls Pacers games in like the 2010s when like the Derrick Rose teams, that was a fun atmosphere because there were a ton of Bulls fans there. There are a ton of Ja fans, right? There are a lot of 12, 13-year-olds with Grizzly jerseys on. And to have them be rewarded with a dunk like that, I mean, that's what the NBA is all about. You want to get wowed every night.
I mean, he packs him in, right?
It's incredible. Yeah, it's just an incredible dunk. One of the dunks of the year so far. So kudos. Love that play, John Morant.
I thought you would have given it to the Cincinnati Bengal return that had a blocking in the back that wasn't called.
I know, yeah. I'm surprised they didn't call that. It was pretty obvious, don't you think? But what a play. I mean, that was you talk about a 14-point swing. That had to have been like a 70% win probability swing.
Yeah.
Like, Ravens went from the catbird seat
well,
to
I mean,
the
that was
opposite
the
of
last
that.
score of the game, right?
Yeah,
it
it completely changed the entire game around. But interesting that both of those teams, both the Bills and Bengals, came so close to losing when they were heavy, heavy favorites. I want to mention this on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm not sure. I didn't get the chance to listen to the radio show this morning if you guys kind of pointed that out. But I think it's important to sort of reflect on that and, hey, why am I off work or why am I off school today? And think about continuing that legacy and doing things as an individual to try to help things along. Because I don't know about you, Jake, but it was the way that I learned it was that Dr. King came in the 60s and everything was fixed. And then you kind of realize as an adult, wait a minute, that's not really what happened at all. Like there are a lot of things that we still kind of need to fix in this country of ours.
I remember when this holiday became a holiday in 1985, I believe. I was in middle school. And at that time, it was as if Dr. King and the speeches was old history. And I realize now, it was 17 years prior. Yeah. And at times it still feels like an old history because we still have a long way to go. I was able to enjoy on Friday night. I went to a concert and saw a bunch of my high school classmates that were there. And we were an intermixed group and we had a wonderful time and you just didn't think about those things. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's good that we are in that position and that I was blessed with that kind of an upbringing to have that kind of diversity around me. But at the same time, at times there is still that conflict that comes up, not amongst me and my friends, but the fact that those things are still pointed out means that there are still strives to go, right? You shouldn't even think about those things. And I would hope and wish for everybody that they are afforded that opportunity to intermix with people where you think about them as people and not as the color, right?
Yeah, and just respect that experience because you love Dewey. You've loved him for 35 years. You can't tell Dewey what it's like to live a day in Dewey's shoes,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So it's just being kind of
It's a very good
cognizant
point.
of that, of all of it. Thanks to all of our great sponsors today, our friends at Lou Malnati's and the Lou Malnati Studio.
I think I got it right that time.
Wherever it is, I'm not even going to try to point. Bailey and Wood Financial Group, Ball State Sports, WGU Indiana, Love Heating and Cooling, Chateau Kitchens
Got it.
as well. And thanks to our crew for coming in on a holiday. Rake,
right.
Jordan, Vince, JD, full slate of the ISC crew. We are back with more next week, talking more NFL playoffs, and I don't know, maybe the Colts will have a coach by then. Till next time, we'll see you then. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports.